It's the world final weekend here at Mugello, round 7 of the Ferrari Challenge Championship. And you're very welcome to the sunshine here. We are about 35 minutes north of Florence, maybe an hour south of Bologna. But here in the gorgeous sunshine, it is round 7. Races.ferrari.com is the website for you to check it all out. But it's the TropheoPirelli cars that are on track now. TropheoPirelli champion already done and dusted and confirmed as Bjorn Grossman, who will be starting from P4 on the grid of this 5.2 kilometer circuit here, as you can see. Very technical circuit. And the truth is, to get it to work, you need to be super smooth. Babalus it is that's on pole position. Alongside him, a welcome return to Dario Calzo, who we've not seen since Mugello here back in May, where he took a win in race 1. Be interesting to see if he can replicate that form here at Mugello this afternoon. We've already had the Copachel cars out on track, and now it's the turn of the TropheoPirelli cars. We zoom into David Gosner, the Ineco MP racing driver, who will be going from P3. His father Thomas there alongside. Some tape being applied to overcome the sun glaring through the windscreen for David Gosner. And there is the Octane 126 driver, Bjorn Grossman, who is indeed the TropheoPirelli European champion. Now, we have pro drivers and AM drivers in this race, and not only that, we are also joined by other drivers as well from the Asian Pacific Series. There is our pole sitter, Babalus. Matteo Santaporte. He drives under the pseudonym of Babalus. Also acts as a driver coach. And he's 152.581. Sufficient to give him a pole position on the grid this afternoon. Best of the Asia Pacific drivers going from P25, and that's Hutasoi in car number 410. There is our TropheoPirelli champion, Bjorn Grossman. Sealed that championship some time back, and there a welcome return also to the British driver Sam Smith, driving with the FF Corsa team. Anthony Cheshire there, the head of FF Corsa. And thumbs up from Sam Smith. Good to see him back here driving in the Ferrari Challenge. And good quality from him. He goes from P8 on the grid. So here is the grid in full then. Babalus and Calzo, the front row. Then it's Gosner and Grossman, row 2. All pro drivers and pro EU drivers. Little graphic on the left-hand side indicating that the AM driver, Alessandro Vezzoni, is the best of the EU AM drivers, P5. Then it's Florian Merckx alongside him. Then it's Alexei Basov and Sam Smith. Then it's Blancardi and Hedman and Pisarek and Zegler, with Renato D'Amato and Jan Danis and Martin Nelson and Tommaso Roca occupying the next rows of the grid, with Alexis Di Bernardi, Socio Del Pret and No Flack and Fangio. The first 10 rows of the grid done and dusted. Then it's Elena Busi and Sturchinger and Joe Macari. Another welcome return. It's Joe Macari back racing this weekend. Then we see Hutusui, Wyatt, Tanihana, Zhu, Ying, Gando and Jin, with Asa, Sato, Yun and Song. All the way back to Hugh and Yo and Shi. A big grid of 39 cars in this TropheoPirelli race, and some nice little camera art there as we look at David Gosner and Bjorn Grossman's car through the reflection of our commentary booths here. Let's take a look at Mugello now. So a little postcard snapshot of the Mugello circuit and the surroundings ahead of race 1 in the finale mondiale for the TropheoPirelli cars, which is round 7 of our championship. And Alessandro Vezzoni is the best of the AM drivers, and boy, look at the focus on Alessandro Vezzoni. Can be blisteringly quick in that 458, the Rosso Corsa Pelin racer. And there is Florian Merckx, run by the Baron service team. And Florian, another one of those that can be blisteringly quick. Just see the Sam Smith car there, number 92. And let's take a look at the Mugello circuit in a bit more detail now.
Hello friends, I'm Eric Prenot, Italian. I live in the mountains in Val Gardena. I'm here at Mugello with my team MP Racing of Ineco. So for these finals, to find out who will be the best 2015. The atmosphere at Mugello is beautiful, is great, and the finals are all the year. We had a very, very nice festa. So I will enjoy also this year these finals here at Mugello. I like it. Mugello circuit is, I think, a difficult track. Not easy to drive. You have to drive very smoothly. Otherwise, you lose a lot of time. So, my opinion, who will be the best here at Mugello will be the best all over the world. So guys, let's enjoy this weekend.
Eric Prenot then giving us a driver's eye perspective, if you like, on this Mugello circuit. And the key word he used is smooth. That's what you need to make it work, this technical 5.2 kilometer circuit here of Mugello. And the TropheoPirelli race to come. As the jingle indicates, race 1 for TropheoPirelli about to get underway. There's another returnee who just last weekend was racing in Shanghai. Alexei Basov, and former champion in the Ferrari Challenge, who's gone on to have a very, very competent and creditable GT racing career. Alexei Basov, good to see him back in a Ferrari Challenge car once again. He's going from P7 on the grid. So very little wind around. In actual fact, it's lovely and warm. As the focus of the world's attention, and some glamour too, is on the finale mondiale weekend here at Mugello. Hublot safety car to the right of your picture, as you can see there. It's a weekend where everything that's great about Ferrari is here on track, including Formula One shows. And Max Blancardi, the Octane 126 driver, another former champion and very, very talented driver, as is Ola Nilsson, who we can see walking into the camera right now. Good to see Ola here. Not to my knowledge has he raced a Ferrari, but who knows, maybe in the future, and that would be good to see. Now, that suggests, from that onboard shot of the Hublot safety car, that Dario Carzo is missing from the lineup, qualifying P2. And don't see Dario Carzo on the track because the Bjorn Grossman car does not have a car in front of it. So quite what has happened to Dario Carzo, I do not know. And there's no information on the screen that will indicate why Dario Carzo is not there on track. On board with Steve Wyatt then, looking backwards as the cars are off on their formation lap. If we swing into the pit lane just to see whether perhaps Dario Carzo didn't make it to the grid and has to start from the pit lane at the back of the grid, but I don't think so. Dario Carzo, great shame, not on the lineup. So the cars are away on their formation lap now. So we have not only the AM and Pro drivers in TropheoPirelli across Europe, we also have the Asia Pacific drivers joining us in this race as well, which will make for a very, very exciting and dramatic race, I feel sure. 30 minutes, 38 cars on track if Dario Carzo is missing. Certainly we can't see him there as we watch the cars through the Materazzi and Borgo San Lorenzo chicane, down through the Casanova turn, which is turn 6 here at Mugello, and that is car number 16 of Socio Del Pret that we were watching. And we zoom in on the number 41 car of Fangio, related to Juan Manuel Fangio. Distantly, it has to be said, but certainly from the same family, and made his Ferrari racing debut at the Paul Ricard circuit in the south of France earlier on in this season. In fact, that was round 4. Florian Merckx in car number 88. Another driver that's been there and thereabouts throughout the course of the season, and currently sits P3 in the points. Babelis is P2, Bjorn Grossman P1, and Bjorn Grossman, who's starting from P4, has already won the TropheoPirelli EU Championship. But of course, the all-important Gold Roof World Final race to come on Sunday, final day of this great World Finals weekend. Well, Dario Carzo is certainly missing from the grid. The Hublot safety car backs them up now, and they will all get into grid order. And on the gantry, the race control will, if happy with the lineup, will release the safety car into the pit lane, and it will be then down to Babelis to control the pace of the rolling lap as they head towards the timing line. The lights are red. We are awaiting 30 minutes of race action. Great advantage for Bjorn Grossman without Dario Carzo ahead of him. It's foot to the floor now. Sam Smith makes a good move as well and tries to get on the outside. We are green and we are racing. So Babelis, and whether Bjorn Grossman can put his car into P2 ahead of David Gosner as he goes the long way around the outside. Sam Smith also going a long way around the outside, but gets hung out onto the grass and is now going backwards. So David Gosner into P3. Bjorn Grossman then moves to P2 as the rest of the pack come through. Babelis, Grossman, Gosner, Max Blancardi, another man on a charge. Sam Smith having to try and make good from being almost wedged out onto the grass. Was going to be Harum Scarum the opening lap for sure, with 38 cars out there on track. So there is our race leader already making good and gapping. There is Joe Macari as we look back from the Tommaso Roca car. Joe Macari back in a 458, again another welcome sight. The British driver who is currently running down there behind the Tommaso Roca car. Someone off in the gravel. The dust has been kicked up on this, the opening lap. Max Blancardi right behind the Florian Merckx car. They're running P6 and P7. There's Alexei Basoff up to P5. Might even be P4 by the time they cross the timing line. And then the Shire liveried number 92 car of the British driver Sam Smith, who down the outside trying to make hay while the sun shone at the very start of the race, but just got wedged out onto the grass. So one lap complete. It's Babalus from Grossman, Gosner, Vetsoni, then it's Basoff, Merckx, Blancardi, Pisaric, Smith, Henrik Hedman, then it's Nelson, Segler and Jan Danis. And it was Florian Merckx then out onto the gravel and the grass. And we see this in replay. Just carried a little bit too much speed out of that turn and ended up on the gravel. So Blancardi then, Max Blancardi running in P6 now. And out go, well, that's the Dario Carzo car, which must have started right at the back of the grid for some reason, and that's significant damage to the Dario Carzo car, as he was turned around, and that it's going to be a fairly big impact indeed, front and side. So Dario Carzo, for whatever reason, didn't take his position on the grid, but was right on the back of the grid. Did start the race, but it's ended already for Dario Carzo. So yellow flag in that sector then where Dario Carzo has gone off. Further down the order you can see just being jostled there, the number 141 car of Fangio. And the order runs across the ticker at the top of the screen for you. Of Babalus and Grossman. Babalus with a second over Bjorn Grossman already. And there's another car into the gravel there. Let's pick that up in replay. Well, that's the Fangio incident that I mentioned. And also out is the number 16 car of Socio del Pret. And that's really dug into the gravel. That's not coming out of there in a hurry. So another yellow flag, and that's around the Corteo turn. Is a yellow flag section as well. So back to the order then, and there is Babalus leading from Bjorn Grossman in P2. Then it is David Gosner P3. Alessandro Vetsoni is P4. Alexei Basoff is P5. And there, 1.3 second gap between Babalus and Bjorn Grossman. So two of the quickest drivers in the EU TropheoPirelli out front there. There is Vetsoni and Basoff with Florian Merckx and Max Blancardi, and now Sam Smith under some pressure from Pisaric in car number 95. So Yuri Pisaric then hounding Sam Smith. Martin Nelson going through. So yellow flags continuing to be shown at turns 1 and also turn 12. The number 37 car is that returning Jan Danis machine from Scuderia Praha. There's race leader, there's P2. Here comes David Gosner in P3 before we see Alessandro Vetsoni and then Alexei Basoff and Florian Merckx having a bit of a ding-dong battle here over P5. Now, Alexei Basoff racing in Shanghai just last weekend from his time in the Ferrari Challenge. Has gone on to have a very, very good GT racing career. See that on board from our onboard camera, see that overtake from our onboard camera. So we stick with this battle between Florian Merckx and Alexei Baysov. Very little between the two of them. Alexei Baysov, former champion in Ferrari Challenge. This battle for P5, there's just under 4/10 between the two of them over the last sector timing line. And of course, this is all playing into the hands of Alessandro Vezzoni, who's running in P4. And he's the best of the AM drivers by some measure, because he's got 3 pro drivers ahead of him and 3 pro drivers behind him, including these two, Alexei Baysov and Florian Merckx. We're on board with Alexei Baysov, looking back at the Florian Merckx car. Baysov does know his way around the Mugello circuit, and he certainly knows the 458 inside out. For that matter, so too does Florian Merckx, but at the moment, Florian has nothing to offer, or does he, as he gets oh so close to the back end of Alexei Baysov. Just avoids contact between the two of them, but brings the gap down a little. Onto the start-finish straight now, heading towards the San Donato turn, which is turn 1 here. Alexei Baysov will hug the inside to prevent Florian Merckx closing in sufficiently to take the inside. It's a long way around the outside and uphill too, and generally doesn't work. So there is Vezzoni, who, whilst these two are battling, is able to concentrate on his own pace. So we've lost Elena Busi, we've lost Socio Del Pret, and we've also lost Dario Carzo, and this is how we lost Dario Carzo. Turned around, and then it was a hefty impact into the wall, to be fair. So a lot of work for the team to do to put the Dario Carzo car back together again, and we're still not aware of the reasons why he started right at the back of the grid and didn't take his front row position up on the start. Also out is the 568 car of Yanbin Xing from the CTF group. So that's another yellow flag will be shown for that. Marshall on the scene straight away. There is Babalus and Bjorn Grossman. Gap has remained relatively constant at about a second between the two of them, and you just get the impression that Babalus is controlling that gap. And we have a very, very slow and back-marking Shi car, which was the all-purple machine. As now Florian Merckx does get past Alexei Baysov. So Florian Merckx has got past Baysov. Baysov just left him, whether he was carrying too much speed and just wasn't able to turn in, and Florian Merckx was able to take advantage of that, and Baysov has gone down a place. So, and there, Baysov really squirming the front end of the car. Never going to go all the way around the outside, but Florian Merckx runs wide, and Baysov gets alongside, but Merckx is in the right place for the next turn, which is through Luca and then Poggio Secco, as they head now towards turns 4 and 5. Materazzi and Borgo San Lorenzo. And Florian Merckx is now leaving Alexei Baysov in his wake. Sticking right with Max Blancardi, just behind the two of them, is Sam Smith, the British driver, running for the FF Corsa team. There is Baysov then, driving with support from SMP Racing. And Blancardi really being hounded by Sam Smith, and I think it was Florian Merckx that just ran out onto the gravel there a bit. Which will have cost him a little bit in terms of his lap time, but still untroubled by Alexei Baysov, who he managed to get past earlier ago. There is Vezzoni, there's Florian Merckx and Baysov running in P4, 5 and 6. with Smith now all over the back of Max Blancardi. It's the battle for P7. And that was where Basoff made that error, and Florian Merckx went through. Also out goes the 568 car of Yan Bin Xing. And getting a real tank slapper on there was Xin Yin in 570. Right, back to this battle that I've said has been raging between Sam Smith and Max Blancardi. Max Blancardi then, who is currently running P7, and Sam Smith in P8. Blancardi a pro driver, Sam Smith categorized as an AM driver. There's Alexei Basoff. And Florian Merckx is just beginning to reel Vezzoni in now that he's been released from the clutches of Alexei Basoff. Florian Merckx just beginning to reel in that Vezzoni car for P4. Basoff running then in P6. There is Florian Merckx. Next in his target sights is the AM driver ahead of him, Alessandro Vezzoni. So we have 3 pro drivers, P1, 2 and 3. Then it's Vezzoni in P4. As up the inside goes the David Chipto Biantoro car. This is the race leader, Babalus, driving for the Scuderia Autoropa team with Bjorn Grossman P2. And Babalus then looking to have this completely under control at the moment. The gap last time around was exactly 1 second between Babalus and Bjorn Grossman. Live gap now is, well, almost identical, exactly the same. Both of the drivers, supremely good drivers, both Babalus and Bjorn Grossman. Look at the brake discs light up on the front of this 458 Evo Challenge car that's used in the Ferrari Challenge. We're at the World Final weekend for season 2015. World Final venue to be revealed for 2016 in a couple of hours' time here at Mugello. The rest of the calendar has been announced, including trips to Hockenheim in Germany and Sochi in Russia. And the top 2 then really have, well, there's a 6.5 second gap to the P3 driver. It's Alexei Basoff now and Florian Merckx have both got past Alessandro Vezzoni. So whilst he still leads the AM category, he's dropping down the order in the race. And soon he's going to be in the clutches of Max Blancardi and Sam Smith. Now, Max Blancardi is almost irrelevant to Alessandro Vezzoni because they run in different classes. Blancardi a pro driver, Vezzoni an AM driver, but Sam Smith is categorized as an AM driver as well, and P1 on the podium would be better for him than P2. So the all-yellow car of Sam Smith, keep an eye on that. Blancardi flashes his lights at Vezzoni ahead of him. Vezzoni ain't going to be moved by that, although I'm surprised that both Merckx and Basoff have managed to get past Alessandro Vezzoni, who is a very, very good AM driver, it has to be said. And there we can see just a very, very sideways moment as they push the tyres to the limit with just under half, or just over half race distance. And Blancardi again flashing his lights at Alessandro Vezzoni ahead of him. You heard Eric Prinot right at the start of the race say that to make this circuit work for you, you've got to be smooth. But of course, to overtake, you've got to be smooth and aggressive as well. And what Max is trying to do is just unsettle Vezzoni ahead of him. We're on board with Alessandro Vezzoni right now. Now, by dint of the green part of the graphic, you can see on the left-hand side, he is an AM driver in the EU Championship. Both AM drivers and pro drivers. Alexei Basoff ahead is a pro driver, and Vezzoni is right on the back of Alexei Basoff now, driving that number 2 car. Further down the order, though, there's plenty of action going on. We're joined, of course, by the Asia-Pacific drivers in this TropheoPirelli race. And Bit of nerf in between the two of them there, and one out onto the grass and gravel. Never going to be a quick way through as the car gets very, very sideways. And now Vezzoni under even more pressure from Max Blancardi, and Base-Off is slowing as well, or has slowed significantly, which has allowed Vezzoni to get on terms. Out goes the 459 car of Gandor. Ziad Gandor from Scuderia Lebanon in the pit lane, and it looks like it could be a retirement for that driver, or maybe not. Blancardi, despite keeping the pressure on Alessandro Vezzoni, has still not found a way past, and Sam Smith is keeping him keen as well because he's right behind him. Battle for 5th position between Base-Off, Vezzoni, Blancardi, and goes so far as to say Sam Smith is involved in that battle as well, really. Base-Off with a very wide line through that final Buccini turn. And once again, Blancardi now right on the back of Vezzoni. He flashes his lights again in the hope of just unsettling Alessandro ahead of him. Will try to get up the inside, but Vezzoni will close the door as they turn in. Indeed he does. We've seen Sam be brave and try around the outside of that turn one, the San Donato turn. Saw him do that right at the start of the race, but not only are you going the long way round, you're going uphill as well. It's just not possible, Buzz. He found out earlier on. He is keeping Max Blancardi keen ahead of him, that's for sure. There's our race leader, Babalus, who just had a 10th taken out of his time by Bjorn Grossman last time around. They're both lapping in the 154.6s. They're both on similar lap times, but it's 1.252 in the lap overall. But in the last sector, Grossman had taken a little bit out of Babalus's time. I just think Babalus, who's very, very experienced, is just managing this little margin between the two of them perfectly. Is just holding Bjorn Grossman at bay, not putting a foot wrong. Love the livery on the Auto Roper car. Livery that's run by not only him, but also Martin Nelson too. So around the final turn they come, and they'll cross the timing line once again with just under 11 minutes of the race to run in TropheoPirelli, and the gap is 1.17, so it's seesawing by a 10th either way, but that's all. And you just get the impression that Babalus is just managing it perfectly. Brake discs have once again light up as the incredible braking pressure is put through the front wheels of these 458 Evo cars, 4,400cc mid-engine Berlinetta. Phenomenal car with the Evo kit, which features the big rear wing and also the splitter at the front to aid downforce, and drivers absolutely love these cars, and Babalus is proving just what a phenomenal race car it is, because he's leading the race now by just 9/10 as Grossman takes another little bit out, but it's only ever been little bits. Grossman, of course, has done all the hard work and he's won the championship, but he's a true racing driver. He wants to win every race that he's in as Babalus runs a bit wide, but the exit means that he's able to carry speed through. On the pit wall, discussions continue. Interestingly, we've had no track limit penalties at all here at Mugello this afternoon, which is good to see. Around the Corentalo turn, through turn 13, which is Biondetti, that chicane, and they just have the Buccini turn to do before they will complete another lap, and we have sub 10 minutes of the race left. In fact, just a shade over 9 minutes left to run. We have 5 European pro drivers that occupy the top 5 places. Babalus, Grossman, Gostner, Merckx, Base-Off, before we find Vezzoni, best of the AMs, before Blancardi, then Smith, Sarek, and Martin Nelson rounding out the top 10 in the race at the moment. Best of the Asia Pacific drivers is think it's Steve Wyatt running in P17 in the race overall. And as if by magic, the battle for P17 continues between Steve Wyatt and Hotsui there. Steve Wyatt with lots of European race experience as well. And in Asia Pacific, here's the standings. Hutasoi and Steve Wyatt, P1 and P2. And timing line is crossed now. Now that's a bold move, and that could so horribly go wrong, and did for Steve Wyatt, because he went for a gap on the Renato D'Amato car that really wasn't ever there. Renato was always going to turn in, and it's the second time that we've seen someone come to grief there, and on that occasion it was Steve Wyatt. So it's not really an on overtake there. So Hutasau for Vero Water Ferrari in car number 410, who is running in P17, but is the best of the Asia Pacific drivers. See that again. So under braking, you can see D'Amato turns in, and Steve Wyatt is the one that is turned around and on board. You can see the consequences of that bold and ambitious move up the inside, which was never ever really going to play out. Okay, Florian Merckx for Baron Service then, who is running P4 and is a bit on his own now, having broken away from Alexei Basov, who is P5. You can see him there with his hand out of the window, trying to generate some air through the side window. Jolly warm here at Mugello this weekend. I say this weekend, it's Friday, but it's predicted for the weather to be relatively unchanged, and he really is on his own out there, is Florian Merckx, because David Gosner is 5 seconds ahead of him, and some 6 seconds behind is Alexei Basov, as we see a retirement there for the Nian Hu car, I believe. Indeed so, the CTF group Nian Hu is out. The end of the race for the 505 car. So just under 6 minutes remaining. Under some pressure now is Ken Sato. Sato under pressure from the Jung-Hoon Woon car. They drag along the start-finish straight here. And there the standings in Asia Pacific for Shell, because of course we have Pirelli and Shell Asia Pacific cars together out there, joining the TropheoPirelli drivers from Europe. The race overall, the ticker across the top of the screen continues to keep you updated on where we are in the race overall, and that is with Babylos leading from Bjorn Grossman by some 1.2 seconds. So the 457 car of Tani Hanna with David Chipto Biantoro. Tani Hanna, another one with some experience of the Mugello circuit, and is always a regular feature in the World Final weekend. Behind Chipto Biantoro, it's Asa, then it's No Flack and Kojima and Jin and Song as well. In the meantime, just a little bit sideways there is the Jan Danis car. It stepped out with Henrik Hedman. There is Henrik Hedman then in the number 10 machine. He also driving for Scuderia Autoropa, but not choosing the same livery as Babylos and Martin Nelson. And there is Martin Nelson, who's running in P10. Henrik Hedman 11, Jan Danis P12, and then Andreas Segler in Supreme livery. Sort of camouflage style livery is at the back of that pack at the moment. So just the remainder of this lap, maybe one more, perhaps two, for the cars that are out there at the moment. Babylos, well, the gap has visibly come down a little bit between Babylos and Bjorn Grossman. So as they cross the timing line, I reckon they'll get 2 more laps in before the end of this race. And I just think Grossman is getting a wee bit closer to Babylos now. It was exactly a second last time around. Well, sure enough, he has taken a 10th out, but it's only ever been tenths. That gap has seesawed a little bit, but it's only seesawed by tenths. The sort of it's the smallest gap it's been all race long, to be fair, at under 1 second. But I just think Babylos is controlling this beautifully, and Grossman is being forced to work really, really hard. Well, it was 9 tenths, wasn't it? It's down to 7 tenths now. So Grossman is meaning business now. He knows he's only got a couple of laps to pull this back. Oh, as out goes Joe Macari. That's a great shame. Joe Macari, the Stylev Squadra Corsa driver, who was running down there P18 or 19, I think, is out into the gravel. That means a yellow flag there at turn 12. We've seen a number of cars go off there, and that's a great shame, because really, really pleased to welcome Joe Macari back into the grid. But he's certainly not going to get the car dug out of there, sadly. He was very, very happy with the car's performance during practice yesterday, and they worked on the car overnight, and before qualifying had hoped that they'd got the setup better. And well, sad to see Joe Macari's race ended in the gravel, as also going for a trip through the gravel, and Tanny Hanna's going to struggle to keep it going from there, I would think. And we've also got a car that's completely stopped in the middle of the track with 1.5 seconds remaining. There is Tanny Hanna, who's out. You can see how angry he is. So this is how it happened. Well, in fairness, you can see perhaps why Tanny Hanna is so cross about that, because David Chipto Biantoro went for a gap really that wasn't there. Tanny Hanna turned in and ended up in the gravel. So we are on the last lap now, and Babylos leads Bjorn Grossman. The gap has come down still further to just 6 tenths now. But what can Bjorn Grossman do? 6 tenths is all very well, but he's got to find a way past Babylos as well. And Babylos tends not to make mistakes. And here's the live gap now, 6 tenths. I heard Eric Prinot say at the beginning of our program that you've got to be super smooth around this Mugello circuit, and it's a very technical circuit. The opportunity to overtake's limited, and well, I think Bjorn Grossman is going to have to settle for a very creditable P2, and he's kept with Babylos all the way through, as we see the very disappointed Tanny Hanna walking away from his car. The car is dug in. He's just taking a look at the damage. So there is Babylos, there is Bjorn Grossman, P1 and P2. First 5 drivers going to be TropheoPirelli Pro drivers from Europe, and Babylos, well, the best of those out there on track in this race for sure. He has just a couple of turns to do now. Turns 13 he runs through now. Biondetti, then he has the Buccina turn before he heads towards the checkered flag to take yet another win for Scuderia Autoropa then. And Babylos heads towards the checkered flag to win race 1 of TropheoPirelli across this world final weekend. Babylos wins from Bjorn Grossman in P2. Some distance back, it's going to be David Gostner that will take P3. Indeed, just as we speak, here comes Gostner to take the final podium position for TropheoPirelli Europe in the Pro category. The best of the AMs is going to be Alessandro Vezzoni. Merckx crosses the line now. And then it's Basoff and Vezzoni and Blancardi and Smith, and So we're going to see Vetsoni and Sam Smith and Pisarek on there for the AM category. And there is Bjorn Grossman. Now the best Asian Pacific is going to be Hugh Tasoy. And also up on the podium for Asia Pacific will be Steve Wyatt. And also Kojima as well. Though, of course, they're split pro and AM also. There is Alessandro Vetsoni. Really is, well, been like a AM plus, really, this season. There's Alexei Basov. Good to see Alexei Basov back in the Ferrari Challenge. And Alessandro Vetsoni then heading towards the pit lane. And the backdrop of the Tuscan Beauty here at Mugello. We're on board with Vetsoni. The slowing down lap. Team Pellin supported by Rosso Corsa this weekend. And there the 410 car of Hugh Tasoy, Rinaldi Hugh Tasoy. Drives for the Vero Water Ferrari Jakarta team. Alexis Di Bernardi, the Luxembourg-based driver. So many nations represented across this Finale Mondiale weekend. And there is the pit lane and Parc Fermé as the cars all head into it now. On board with Tommaso Rocca then, the Rosso Corsa racer, the AM racer in the European TropheoPirelli. Another race to come for TropheoPirelli cars tomorrow, and the world final on Sunday. In the meantime, the classification: Babelos, Grossman, Gosler, Merckx, Basov, all pro drivers. Then Vetsoni, the AM driver. Then it was Blancardi, another pro driver, with Smith, Pisarek and Nelson rounding out the top 10. And there is Babelos, cool as a cucumber, out of the car, takes the win for Scuderia Autoropa. And we can see the Bjorn Grossman car and the David Gosler car as well. All the family in there to congratulate David, Father Thomas, also the sisters Corinna and Manuela, all of whom race in the Copa Shell category, and they pose for a photograph. Nice. Okay, here come the highlights of that race. As we went green, Sam Smith went to the outside to try and make his way up the order of the pack, but just here he ends up being squeezed just onto the grass, which sends him back a couple of places. Babelos on his way. So too on his way was the returning Dario Carzo, not in the way he would have liked. He should have occupied P2 on the grid, started from the back of the grid and didn't last very long before he was through the gravel and in the wall. Babelos, though, was not putting a foot wrong and proving, Eric Prenot saying that you need to be smooth to get the most out of this track. It's exactly what he did. Super smooth, though he was chased the whole way by Bjorn Grossman, but Grossman could only ever seemingly take just the odd 10th out of Babelos. Alessandro Vetsoni, the AM driver, to shine, though. Elsewhere, the Asia Pacific stars were in battles all of their own, which sometimes involved the tarmac, the grass and the gravel. Plenty of gravel on the track too. Some bold and ambitious overtakes, and some which were going to work and some which weren't. Steve Wyatt there ending up turned around, but was able to recover from there. Tani Hanna perhaps not quite so lucky. His car turned around and dug deep into the gravel. Tani Hanna was never going to recover. Not putting a foot wrong though, Babelos whilst he may have been chased the whole way by Bjorn Grossman, never really seemed to be a threat to come, and Babylos was able to add yet another victory to his illustrious racing career. Babylos wins from Grossman and Gosner. There is Bjorn Grossman. Of course, he is already the TropheoPirelli champion, but takes P2 in that race. And Alessandro Vezzoni being congratulated as well. And we're going to be heading up to the podium very soon. Congratulations all around for some great driving in the Ferrari Challenge TropheoPirelli race, which not only had the Pro and the Am drives in the European TropheoPirelli, but also the Asia Pacific drivers from Pirelli and Shell in the grid also. So Kojima then being congratulated. Lots of photos being taken, and lots of spectators here expecting a bumper crowd here at Mugello across the course of this weekend, the World Finals weekend, Finale Mondiali. Do check it out online. Just do a search on Finale Mondiali, and you'll find the dedicated site with all the photos and updates from the Finale Mondiali here. So we take super slow-mos of the top three. This is David Gosner then for Team MP Racing from the Gosner family. He takes P3. The TropheoPirelli champion Bjorn Grossman, we'll see in super slow-mo now, takes P2, and he chased Babylos all race long, but was never able quite to get close enough to have a real go overtaking, which would have been difficult enough around this track. But Babylos and Grossman's pace matched supremely all the way through the race, and it was to this man's advantage. Babylos, who didn't put a foot wrong, did a lot of the hard work, of course, in qualifying in that Scuderia Autoropa 458 Evo car. Put it on pole position and really, in truth, never really looked threatened from the very, very start of the race. So, some cooling brought on in a fairly rudimentary way, but it works. And temperature has been absolutely lovely here at Mugello. And there is David Gosner making his way onto the third step of the podium. Stand by for Bjorn Grossman. There he is. And Babylos is victorious and is on the top step of the podium once again, and it will be national anthem time for Babylos. So, trophy presentation's about to start. And Giancarlo Fisichella, the Ferrari GT star and former Formula One star as well, makes the trophy presentations with a similar speed to that you see him on track. Very, very quick. Giancarlo Fisichella makes those trophy presentations. 3, 2, 1 to Gosner, Grossman and Babylos. last year's World Final event in Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit. I had the privilege of racing with Giancarlo Fisichella. Was on a kart track, and needless to say, he beat us. So Giancarlo up there for the photographs as well. So Giancarlo Fisichella, just one of the official Ferrari drivers that joins us across the course of the entire weekend, as Christian Hobo, who you just see walking away there, who is driver coached by Babalus, looks on with pride at his teacher, having taken another win. And Bjorn Grossman, David Gostner, and Babalus make their way off the podium, and the podium will be readied for the AM category. Here is the 2016 calendar then, and what an exciting calendar it is. Monza, Mugello, Le Mans, Sochi, Hockenheim, Jerez, and then the finale mondiale. Says TBA. Well, tomorrow we're going to be able to tell you, because in 2.5 hours, 2 hours time from now, we're going to find out where the finale mondiale for 2016 is going to be. It's going to be announced here this evening, so bring you that news tomorrow. So we can hear the AM podium getting underway, and Pizarek is already up there. Sam Smith then. And Alessandro Vezzoni. And there is the Gostner sisters looking on. And Alessandro Vezzoni jumps. And it's a national anthem now. And there, the winning car then in the AM category, the number 27 car of Alessandro Vezzoni. So Giancarlo Fisichella makes the trophy presentation to Jiri Zarek and also to Sam Smith. And to the winner, Alessandro Vezzoni. So the Pirelli trophy held aloft by Alessandro Vezzoni also. All smiles for the photos. Giancarlo will make haste his escape before the champagne is sprayed. And the AM podium done then. And the photos taken. And there you can see both Corinna and Manuela Gostner, who are enjoying that podium also. Here's some music then, some of the highlights of the racing that we've seen. So the backdrop of the Mugello circuit that you can see and the mountains behind it truly is a lovely circuit and challenging circuit for the drivers to race on, that's for sure, but they all enjoy it, and it's a great venue for this World Finals. Second time that I've been at the World Finals when it's been held here at Mugello, and we're on to our next podium, which will be for yeah, get on the right step, chap, come along, for our Asia Pacific drivers. So this is Pirelli in Asia Pacific, and right, that's it, you're on the top step. And national anthem. As the national anthem plays out, Hutasoy then on the top step of the podium. Giancarlo Fisichella once again will be the trophy presenter. Ah, beg your pardon. That'll teach me. It is James Collado, top racer, who is making the trophy presentations. James joining us in comms over the course of the weekend as well. This for the Asia Pacific, 2 categories in Asia Pacific as well. We have Pirelli and Shell also. And there, you must forgive the graphics that we saw earlier. As the Asia Pacific podium is delivered there by James Collado. And come along, James, we want you in the photographs as well. So there he is. So photos all taken, the 1, 2, 3 there. Asia Pacific, both Shell and Pirelli involved in, very much involved in the enjoyment of the podium as well. And subject to time allowance, we should get another Asia Pacific podium also. Nice little bit of camera art there to some of the spectators that are enjoying what is officially the first day of racing across the 3-day finale mondiale, which is Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So on that rather lovely shot of some of the spectators here, we are just about done and dusted for TropheoPirelli. Join us tomorrow where we have much more racing to come from the finale mondiale.
scalato per Robert Asser, vincitore di questa gara Pirelli AM, campionato Asia